The Giants' Monday night loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers was, for all intents and purposes, a self-inflicted loss. Another game that the New York Giants could have won, but for multiple reasons, couldn't get done. The one thing I'll tell you is that when you look around that team, you see a lot of smoke. And where there's smoke, there's bound to be fire. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I've got a giant issue.
3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of A Giant Issue. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, New York Giants on SI. That is where you can find all of your New York Giants news and information. Make sure that you also hit the New York Giants on SI YouTube page. Hit that button, that subscribe button. Yes, we're close and we're inching, but we're getting closer. 2,000 subscribers. That's what we're hoping for. I really do appreciate all of the love that I've received with doing this podcast. I try to be an unbiased voice, a voice that has the best interest of Giants Nation in mind, but also doesn't really get super emotional about the team per se. I know for some of you, that might not be your cup of tea, and I understand it. And there are plenty of places out there to get that type of, that type of pod if that's what you're looking for. But what I want to do is take impartial looks. And when I say impartial looks, I don't want y'all to get it mistaken. It's not as if I don't get like emotional or like I don't get invested in these things. I just do it in different ways. I get emotional over play calling and over personnel groups and things that I would get emotional over if it was any team. But I get a chance to bring it to you and show you how it affects your team, or at least in my opinion, how it affects your team. So I don't want to dilly-dally. The first things first. This Giants defense, once again, and I'm going to keep saying it, I don't care what anyone tells me. This Giants defense is a playoff caliber defense. It is bordering on a championship level defense. Where is the fall off? Well, it's funny that you said that, right? Because at the same time, when everybody was bagging on Kayvon Thibodeau for not getting sacks, right? When everybody was out there saying, Kayvon Thibodeau needs to get more sacks, of course, nobody was paying attention to anything else that Kayvon Thibodeau was doing. Like eating up blocks, like keeping proper run fits, like keeping his lane, like making sure that he's in position to make plays, and make sure that because he's in position to make plays, other people are in position to make plays. Kayvon Thibodeau has missed the last, 3 games? I believe. The last 3 games, he's been out. And in the last 3 games, right, the Bengals, the Eagles, the Steelers, right? The rushing yards over the last 3 games, the rushing yards has been 167, 269, 121. He got hurt in the Seahawks game. That was 102. Now before that, they had a bad game versus the Vikings, gave up 111 rushing yards, but we agree that everything was kind of off that game, right? The Washington Commanders ran all over them, but it was empty rushing yards because a lot of it was quarterback rushing yards, right? Off of scrambles. And then you add in, but then after that, they kind of got it under control. 69 yards, 80 yards, right? So they were trending in the right direction. And over those times, right? And over those times, the opponent's scoring went down. Gave up 15 to Cleveland, 20 to Dallas, 20 to Seattle, 17 to the Bengals. It wasn't until Philadelphia that the points started getting higher. And that game got away from them, right? 28 points. Pittsburgh, 26 points. But you add in a punt return. So the defense really only gave up 19 points. That's playing good enough to win, ladies and gentlemen. But look at the offensive side. 6 points, 18, 21, 15, 20, 29. Guess what they did that game when they scored 29? They won. Guess what they did when they scored 21? They won. 7 points, 3 points, 18 points. Right? They aren't putting up enough points to allow their defense to be relevant. You can't just settle for field goals. The defense has to play better for sure. But the defense is not the problem with this team. The problem with this team is offensive. And until you people stop trying to scapegoat everybody else, you're never going to focus on the true problem. This problem is offensive because the better the offense is, the less the defense has to be out there. When the defense holds the Steelers out of the end zone for the first half, but still finds themselves in a tie ball game, that's a problem. When the defense watches the offense get into the red zone and they don't take a chance of saying, you know what? If we don't pick up this fourth down, our defense will have them backed up. Go to the defense. Ask the defense what you want them to do. Hey, defense, do y'all want us to kick the field goal right here on this fourth down? Or do y'all want us to try to pick up this first down and see if we can punch this thing in the end zone? If we don't get it, y'all are going to get it on their 13-yard line or their 16-yard line. Ask them what they sign up for. Get them involved with the aggression because something has to give when it comes to getting this thing in the end zone. And not for nothing, I can't put all that blame on Daniel Jones. Yes. Does he have some accuracy issues where his ball placement isn't where you would want it to be? Yes. Does he absolutely have anticipation issues? Yes. He's always had anticipation issues. I've talked about it ad nauseum. He does not anticipate well, and because he doesn't anticipate well, most of his passes are late. And when he does, on the occasion that he does anticipate well, balls look beautiful. Right? So I'm not going to sit here and say that Daniel Jones is absolved of any and all responsibility, but we can't just be on here trying to blame Daniel Jones for everything else. Right? Here's what I'm going to say. I don't know if it's the coaching staff, and I don't know if it's the front office. But again, I have decided that they get equal blame because Joe Shane and Brian Dable were supposed to be in this thing together. Let me start with some positive. I thought Brian Dable called a hell of a game. I thought he called the game that was a winning that was winning play calls, right? I thought he did. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I call plays. I know how difficult it is to call plays. I thought he called plays that put his team, if they did their job, in the best position to be successful. You want to know the problem is? The decision on who was in there to get the job done was flawed and faulty and made no sense. Hey, let me start with this. I guess I can't even say start with this because I'm 10 minutes into the pod already. So it's not starting with this, but let me say this. As much as you guys have heard me say, hey, I don't think Joshua Zudu should be out there. I've given reason why. I think he's a better guard than he is a tackle. And I don't think that it's in his best interest to have him as tackle. You drafted him to be a guard. You should let him be a guard. That's where his ceiling is the highest. I said that. Right? So they give Joshua Ezeudu a start, and he looks awful in the first half. But in the second half, he calms down a little bit. Now, is he great? Nope. Is he great? Nope. Is there something to build on? Yes. The next day you go out and you pick out a free agent or somebody that's on the practice squad of another team that doesn't run the same type of scheme that you run, that's not even close to the same type of scheme that you run. You bring that guy in and you put him over the guy that you drafted and that you've been training at that position after one game. How much faith did you really have in him to start with? Zero. You had no faith in him to start with if after one game of him not doing well, when you threw him into the fire, you say, I've seen enough. You should have just did what I did, which is I don't need to see him at left tackle. I saw enough last year. But you didn't. And so now, like I said a while ago when I was talking about why it wasn't wise to put Ezeudu at left tackle, I think that you have cooked Ezeudu's career. I don't know if he has a comeback from this unless he goes somewhere else and those people go, hey, listen, man, they had you playing out of position. You're going to play guard for us. And he's able to find that confidence at guard that he should have had with the Giants. But how much faith did you have in a guy if after one bad start where a lot of people played poorly, not just him, you benched him? You benched him after one bad start. Cool. I'm all right with it if that's what you wanted to do. But then you went out and got somebody from off the street who was worse than Joshua Ezeudu was. I thought it would be difficult to be worse than what Joshua Ezeudu was, and yet the Giants managed to do it. I can't blame him. He just took the opportunity that was given to him. Hey, you get a chance to come to a team and play and be on the active roster and get active roster money, right? You get to go and get active roster money. You know how much different active roster money is from practice squad money? Let's just say that if you're living off practice squad money, you can live off that active game money for multiple iterations of the practice squad money. So it's big. I ain't mad at him at all. What I am mad at is the people who put him out there. You threw him out there and then didn't give him help at all times. You left him one-on-one sometimes against the Steelers. Are you mad? Are you losing your mind? You knew you couldn't just throw screen passes on his side for the whole game. You knew you couldn't just throw short passes the entire time, right? You knew at some point you were going to have to rely on him to block someone, and he couldn't. Not just in the first half. It didn't get better in the second half. It was bad the entire game. But the pièce de résistance was on the other side, the guy that you paid money for, the guy that you said, hey, we're not even going to allow Evan Neal to get his job back. We're going to just put him on the bench based off what this dude did in some meaningless preseason games and in practices versus teammates were going to just give him the job that wasn't the job we brought him in for, and we're going to allow this dude who's healthy now to come back and back him up. Cool. Right? Because that makes sense. And then when your left tackle gets hurt, you have this first-round draft pick who made his bones as a left tackle, who made his bones on the left side, who became the pick, a top 10 pick, because of what he did on the left side. You don't even give him a chance. Cool. You benched Jeremy Azudu when he had one bad game. This is now 3 bad games. This is now 3 bad games for Jermaine Illuminor. When are you going to bench him and put Evan Neal in? Keep that same energy. Keep that same energy for Illuminor that you had for Azudu, the guy that you drafted and the guy that you've been training at the position, right? If you're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt, why are you giving the mercenary offensive lineman for hire the benefit of the doubt? I can 100% tell you Evan Neal could look that bad. These last 2 weeks for sure, 3 weeks if I'm being honest, he has looked worse than Evan Neal over there. I don't remember Evan Neal just getting beat senselessly with the same move. Show me the 3-sack Evan Neal game. I could be wrong. Right? I could be wrong. But show me the 3-sack Evan Neal game. And then tell me why I wouldn't go with Evan Neal, even if he had 3 sacks, as a 22-year-old guy who's played limited amounts of NFL games because of injury, who I brought in an offensive line coach to work with and get him better. Why would I not play him over the guy who's supposed to be the veteran who can't do any better? And to add injury to insult, or insult to injury, whichever you like to say, the head coach comes out and says that Daniel Jones was supposed to switch the pressure, was supposed to change the protection to Illuminor's side so that he would have the help. Ladies and gentlemen, if you change it and you put the help on Illuminor's side, guess what's going to happen on the left side? He's going to get beat for the same sack. And on top of that, why would you have to give Illuminor pressure? I mean, give him help. I thought he was really good. When Andrew Thomas got hurt, we had people out here saying, hey, move Illuminor to the left tackle. That means he's really good. Even though he's never played left tackle, he's barely played right tackle, except for the year and a half he played it for the Raiders. A year and a half where he was so good that the Raiders said, nah, we good. We'll do something else. That's the guy that's keeping Evan Neal off the field. At some point, you guys can't be hypocrites. A lot of people out here don't like Evan Neal because of what he said about people. Not because they're being objective about his play. They said he was unplayable. I did an entire breakdown of him versus elite level pass rushers. TJ Watt level pass rushers. I did a breakdown of him versus Max Crosby. He got beat for a sack once, I believe, the entire game. That was after he came back from injury. So he wasn't 100%. I did a breakdown of him versus versus Nick Bosa. I believe he only gave up 1 sack. There was another sack where everybody slid down and Bosa came off the edge and got a sack because of the scheme. But the offensive line woes that we're seeing right now is 100% on the coach and the GM. It's their moves and their decisions. You want to know how I know why? Because they're starting to get it together in the run game. Tyrone Tracy out there doing his best Saquon Barkley impression. Doing his best Saquon Barkley impression. And that becomes one of my other issues. These decisions that are being made to try and change the identity of the team when the team clearly has an identity that would work if you just leaned into it. The Giants should be a run-first team. They need to have an elite level running back. Why? Because they're a run-first team. They need to have a high-quality backup. Why? Because they're a run-first team. Yet, they don't want to pay the running back, even though they're a run-first team. They want to pay the quarterback. So now, because you paid the quarterback, you got to change your identity, go out and get and spend high draft capital on wide receivers, because Jalen Hyatt could have easily been an offensive lineman. He could have easily have been a linebacker. But instead, you're taking a wide receiver. Why? Because you want to get more weapons for the $40 million, $40+ million man. The quarterback could have easily been another rookie. It could have been Michael Penix Jr., but you didn't. Why? Because you already spent $40 million on a quarterback, and now you've got to get him weapons. So you spend it on a wide receiver to do what? Catch short routes. And then yesterday was outplayed by the wide receiver that you already have on the team that you won't just admit he has wide receiver one ability. Your quarterback almost got him decapitated trying to catch a pass. Then the quarterback drops a dime to the number one, to the first round draft pick. His best deep ball that he's thrown all year hits him in the hands and he drops it. You want to know why he drops it? Because he was probably as shocked as everybody else was that Daniel Jones threw the ball that well. Nah, I'm joking. You want to know why he dropped it? Because rookies sometimes drop balls they don't have any business dropping. Veterans drop balls they don't have any business dropping. Drop passes happen. On a slant route that comes across, yes, he dropped the ball. He 100% should have caught the ball. But ask yourself, if he catches the ball, can he run after the catch? If he catches the ball, what is he doing after it? Because the ball was thrown low and it was thrown against the way he was going. He was going this way or this way, depending upon what you're looking at. The ball was behind him. Yes, he should catch it. No, there's no yak coming. There's no yak coming. And if that ball is thrown in the position it's supposed to be thrown, then he could do something with it. Now, when he drops it, you have every right to kill him for it. But receivers drop passes. All of them do. Every single one. Nobody's perfect. It's just that the two that he dropped were critical. That's all. But also, there were some passes that were missed that were critical. That if they were not missed, it's a touchdown. He threw a fade ball to Malik Neighbors on the left when if he had thrown a fade ball to Darius Slayton, who is the better fade ball wide receiver right now, who's having the better season as a deep ball catcher, who is a veteran, if he had thrown it to him, he had cooked this dude by 2 yards. He had cooked the dude by 2 yards. Throw it that way. Nope, we got to force the ball to our first round draft pick. That is on the quarterback, but it's also on the coach and the GM because that's a mantra that comes from the top down. We got to get the ball to Malik Willis. I'm sorry, to Malik Neighbors. We got to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. Why? Because he's special. Why is he special? Because everybody says he is. What has he done special? Nothing. He has not done anything special yet. Is he a great talent? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be phenomenal? Yes, I do. Has he been special? No. He's just gotten a lot of targets. This is not me trying to diss Malik Neighbors. This is me telling people, slow down. Malik Neighbors needs to mature the same way Deonte Banks needs to mature. But it's not in the way that a lot of y'all do. A lot of y'all think he just needs to get more reps as an NFL player. How scapegoatish is it to bench Deonte Banks for the second half of the game after watching him make the play that kept the ball out of the end zone in the first half? You benched him for inconsistent. You benched a second-year cornerback for inconsistent play when that's what you get from second-year cornerbacks. Meanwhile, over on the other side, the Pittsburgh Steelers watched Joey Porter Jr. hold and grab and do all this undisciplined cheater because I can't cover people's stuff, and they left him out there and let him rock. You know why? Because they know that you've got to play through the growing pains of the young. They don't just overreact and get them out of here. When their offensive line gets beat, right? They don't just say, oh, we're going to look to replace them. Like Mike Tomlin said, he doesn't run away from coaching. He runs towards coaching. The Giants are out here trying to find people who are already ready-made, that they don't have to coach, that they don't have to pour into. And guess what? If you want to be a good franchise, you have to pour into players. You can't just say, hey, Deonte Banks, you're giving what we think, because we don't know what's in your mind and what's in your heart, what we think is inconsistent effort. But we see you giving great effort on that one play instead of, hey, I need more of that out of you. Or, right? How about go, hey, Deonte Banks, you keep dogging it. The world's going to see it. We're on Monday Night Football. We're not taking you out. You're going to get it together, or you're going to look horrible. Right? Hey, Jermaine Illuminor, you look horrible on Monday night. But you had the opportunity to look horrible the entire game. You know why? Because they never pulled you. They never gave you the chance to go, oh, thank God I'm no longer out there. You know, Jermaine Illuminor does more, like he has said more in his time as a New York Giant, like unsolicited more than any offensive lineman I have ever followed and or seen for the Giants over the last, 4 years? He's always talking about something. At the beginning, it was the annoying amount of how happy he was to be a Giant. And I'm just going like, just wait. Wait till the pendulum swings. And if you Giants fans don't murder him like you've been killing Evan Neal, it's going to say a lot about what you really care about. If people stroke you off, if people make you feel good, make you feel like they love you, then you're willing to overlook their horrible play. That's what it's going to say. You're willing to overlook the horrible play because he's really happy to be in New York. He's really happy to be a New Yorker. Or are you going to hold him to the standard that you're holding Evan Neal to? Oh, well, Evan Neal's a first-round draft pick. What does that matter now? What matters now is who's getting the job done and who's not getting the job done, and that dude ain't getting the job done. Why is it that Bobby Okereke doesn't look the same? Right? Because things are different. Why not give him an opportunity to adjust? People are already trying to take shots at him. He had a bunch of tackles. He had a forced fumble and a recovery. And yet people are already starting to poke holes in Bobby Okereke. It doesn't stop. Why don't y'all say something about the linebacker that's next to him that continues week after week after week after week to miss tackles? Leave Bobby Okereke alone. Why don't y'all talk about the safeties out here not in position over the top where they should be, not making the tackles? Why? Because they've let go 2 Pro Bowl and 1 that is going to be the all-pro safety this year. We are in real time watching the mistakes of the front office and coaching staff happen, and all we can talk about is Daniel Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there is smoke everywhere. There's smoke everywhere. There's smoke on the offensive line. There's smoke on the defensive line. There's smoke in the linebacking group. There's smoke in the running back room. There's smoke at receivers. There's smoke with the defensive back. There's smoke on special teams. Where is Turbo? Why not just give the dude who runs really, really fast, really, really hard in a straight line an opportunity to return kicks? I keep seeing every other name that I ain't never heard of before getting the opportunity, and you had Turbo and you don't give him a shot. Make it make sense. Have you just made Evan Neal the most dejected offensive lineman ever? Because I know he's sitting there watching film going, I can't play over these dudes. I can't get a shot because of these guys. There are now 4 offensive tackles that the Giants have played instead of playing Evan Neal. 1 makes sense. One of them makes sense. The other 3 don't. Argue with your mama. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time I have today. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you leave comments. I know you will. And y'all know I will try to respond. We don't always have to agree, but we can always be respectful. And I love that you guys are respectful. I love it. But I love to hear from you. So even if you disagree, hit me in the comments. Make sure that if you're listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, that you leave a comment. I want to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I've got a giant issue.